On New Year's Eve, Jenny took her daughter to spend the evening with her first love and celebrate the new year. The three of them had dinner together and took pictures with fireworks to post on social media. Their friends liked and commented, and someone asked, "Weird, why hasn't Charlie said anything? He usually blows up her phone the moment he sees this." Jenny wasn't worried and said, "He'll call me soon." But midnight passed and she still hadn't received a call from me. She couldn't help but ask, "Charlie, why aren't you calling me to come home?" What she didn't know was that I was already on a train leaving town. From then on, no one would urge her to come home anymore. The day I left happened to be New Year's Day. Jenny came down from the bedroom on the second floor, not noticing I was packing my things. As she headed out, she told me, "I'm going to pick up Jasmine from the old house. We'll spend New Year's Eve at Steve's place. No need to wait for us for dinner." She spoke in her usual directive tone. 2 years ago, I would have kicked up a fuss about it. But this year, knowing I was about to leave, I felt particularly calm and just said, "Okay." I didn't even look up or say anything else. Jenny paused, looking a bit surprised, but she didn't ask anything further and just nodded before leaving. The sound of the closing door wasn't loud, but it did make me pause for a moment. A week before, I had seen Steve's post. He had bought a lot of festive decorations for New Year's and posted a selfie in front of a window filled with them. It was yet another new year full of anticipation. Many people liked his post, most of them Jenny's friends. One person commented, "Is Jenny spending New Year's with you again this year? She's so good to you." Steve didn't respond directly, just posted a cool emoji, and then Jenny liked it too. I wasn't surprised by their interaction. After all, this wasn't the first New Year's Eve Jenny spent with Steve. To be exact, this was the 3rd year. But there's not much I could do, given Steve is Jenny's first love. Even though Jenny and I went from college sweethearts to married, it's always the same cliched story. Ever since Steve came back, Jenny has been just settling for everything else. In the past, I would have thrown a fit about it, asking if she was spending New Year's Eve with him again. But this year, I didn't ask anything. I just quietly bought a ticket to go back to my hometown and left a divorce agreement behind. I guess this is the end for Jenny and me. The ticket was for 7 p.m. today. As I was torn whether or not to take a family photo, I unexpectedly received a call from Jasmine. Jasmine is my daughter with Jenny. She's 5 years old this year. Maybe because she was raised in the old house, both mom and daughter share a similar cool and steady demeanor. When I answered the video call, there was a young face with eyes similar to Jenny's. The car interior behind her was familiar, indicating Jenny had picked her up. Jasmine frowned at me through the phone, asking, "Daddy, are you upset again?" "Upset?" I looked blankly at the image of Jasmine on the screen. Before I could respond, she continued, "Is it because we're spending New Year's with Steve again? Like, I've said it before, Steve is lonely on New Year's. He's not like you who always has someone." She rattled on. She said similar things 2 years ago when I first found out Jenny was taking Jasmine to be with Steve for New Year's Eve. I had a huge fight with Jenny then. Jasmine stood by her mom, both of them looking at me with reproach. "Steve is alone, he just wants some company for New Year's. Can't we keep him company?" I argued back then. They were with Steve, I was the one who would be alone. I hardly got to see Jasmine, since she was growing up in the old house. I wanted a family reunion to welcome the new year, but they saw me as an unreasonable crazy person. Jasmine would stare at me like a little adult with complaints. In the past, her words and eyes would hurt my heart. Now, that pain feels no more than a mosquito bite, insignificant. "Jasmine, I'm not upset. If you want, Steve can spend every New Year's Eve with you both." I meant it. Jasmine's face was taken aback. Then she pouted. "You're saying the opposite again. You always do this, but then you call us to come home." I opened my mouth to say something, but Jasmine had already passed the phone to Jenny. The camera swept to her. In the dim car light, her face was clear and defined, thinly veiled with the coolness of winter. With a slight sidelong glance, there was a hint of chilliness. I swallowed my words. Jenny drove, her voice indifferent. "Anything else?" she asked. That familiar tone. There were many things I had wanted to say before, but now, I shook my head. "No, Jenny seemed momentarily stunned. She wanted to look at me, but the green light came on. As the car moved, I hung up the phone. In the end, I didn't take that family photo. After packing up all my stuff, I casually left the keys on the table in the entryway. I'd been in this city for 6 years. In the end, everything I owned fit into one 26-inch suitcase. The winter air was biting, and the car window had a thin layer of fog. The driver, taking advantage of a break in traffic, chatted with me. He asked if I was heading home. Yeah. Why'd you get such a late ticket then? He joked, saying if my home was far I might miss out on the New Year's dinner. I pretended it was half true, saying I couldn't snag an earlier one. But it wasn't true. Initially, I had planned for Jenny, Jasmine, and I to drive back to my place together this year. Since marrying Jenny, I hadn't visited home in 6 years. Initially, it was because Jasmine was young, so travel wasn't easy. When Jasmine turned 3, Jenny took her to visit Steve for 2 consecutive years. I thought Jenny would remember this year, but Steve's post reminded me. Jenny forgot again. So, I didn't expect much and bought a ticket myself. I got it kind of late, so I ended up with a ticket for today. The driver dropped me off at the train station. It was exactly 6:30. I grabbed my suitcase, went through the ticket check, and got on the train. The city's lights had already turned on. Along the edge of the river there were fireworks. They were beautiful. This was my first time experiencing the city's New Year vibe like this. It felt both novel and somewhat relieving. I remembered the first couple of years after Jenny and I got married. We were actually pretty happy. We were newlyweds, and with Jasmine's birth, our home was filled with joy. Everyone had smiles, and the usual strictness towards me eased up a bit. But when did things start to change? Maybe when they insisted Jasmine be raised at the old house. I had to call in advance every time I wanted to see Jasmine. The house I had carefully arranged, in the end, was just for me and Jenny. We went from being a couple who could talk about anything to a couple who had nothing to say. My expectations dwindled over time. Now, the days I look forward to most in a year are seeing Jasmine and spending more time with her during New Year. But while Jasmine was raised to be polite and well-behaved, she always felt distant from me. I thought it was because we didn't see each other often. But when I saw how she interacted with Steve, I realized that connections don't necessarily become close because of blood ties. I noticed Jenny's New Year's post, just like previous years. Fireworks and a photo of her with Jasmine and Steve. Steve looked handsome, Jasmine was adorable, and even Jenny, usually calm and composed, had a gentle look with a slight smile. I thought of the family photo I didn't take. The most recent one was taken a year ago on Jasmine's birthday. But I was the only one smiling in that picture. Jenny and Jasmine explained they don't like to smile. I didn't think much of it back then. Jasmine takes after Jenny, and Jenny really isn't the smiling type. Seeing this new photo, I felt a bit emotional but nothing more. I thought about liking Jenny's post but saw the comments first. Jenny's post was not up for long, just about half an hour, yet there were a lot of comments. Some people misunderstood and thought the 3 were a family, wishing Jenny happiness. And then there were Jenny's friends. A few comments caught my attention. One person said, "Jenny is spending New Year's with Steve again? Didn't Charlie say anything?" Another said, "It's weird. Jenny posted this half an hour ago, and Charlie hasn't reacted? Normally he'd be blowing up the phone." Jenny replied to one, "He'll call later." I froze, thinking of the call Jasmine made to me that afternoon. She joked I always called to urge them home. In the past, I might have. I would have called Jenny to make sure she brought our daughter home after dinner. But I wanted to tell Jasmine, it's not just talk. This year, I'm not going to call anymore. From now on, I'm not going to call them home. After seeing Jenny's comment, I decided not to like the post, not wanting them to think I'm hinting at something. I turned off my phone. As the train rocked back and forth, I thought about the past with Jenny, wondering how much longer until I got home. It's only when leaving that you feel a surge of emotions. I reminisced about me and Jenny, from her sophomore year transfer to our time in college together. I had a crush on her throughout high school and college. She was striking. Her family background, her grades, her looks, all outstanding. I worked hard just to get into the same college as her. I watched her and Steve's passionate relationship, and then their breakup, never expecting her to notice me. But fate is funny. One day it opened a window for a crush. I can still clearly recall the day Jenny noticed my feelings. It was 6 months after Steve went abroad. Jenny was in a competition, and no one believed she would win except me. She won first prize. In the afterglow of cheers and celebrations, Jenny walked towards me. "Charlie?" she asked. "Yes?" Jenny said, "I heard you were the first to bet on me winning the competition." She had just won the award, all her confidence showing brightly. I couldn't look her in the eye, muttering, "I just believed in you." Jenny chuckled, "I've seen you several times. Aren't you always at these events?" I was stunned. I had watched Jenny at many such events, but I never dared get too close. I always stayed hidden in the crowd, just another cheering spectator. I thought I hid it well. Apparently not. I looked at Jenny, breathing lightly, too nervous to speak. Jenny didn't say anything either, just looking at me with bright eyes and a smile that made my heartbeat skip. Steve had chosen to study abroad for his future. Jenny was so heartbroken. It landed her in the hospital. Everyone thought Jenny would be down in the dumps after her heartbreak. But nobody expected that 6 months later, she'd be with someone as unknown as me, and we'd go from campus to wedding bells. They joked that someone must have taken over Jenny. Otherwise, why would she choose me? Even when Jasmine came along, people still gossiped about it. Until Steve came back. I could imagine them shaking their heads, like I was just some obstacle in a love story. Now that the lead is back, I guess it's time for me to go. A minute past midnight. I woke up to the sound of fireworks outside. This New Year's. Some folks were moving around the train cabin, others whispering on the phone to loved ones. My phone buzzed under the pillow. It was Jenny. Honestly, I was kinda surprised. Usually, she'd be busy with Jasmine and Steve, staying up and watching fireworks. I'd be the last thing on her mind. But here she was calling me. Did something happen to Jasmine? I swiped to answer. Hey. All I heard on the other end was breathing. I thought it was just a bad signal and was about to say something again. Then Jenny spoke softly. Are you asleep? I had a hunch Jenny wanted to talk. Still, I was a bit surprised. She was skirting around, not like her usual direct way. No, what's up? I kept my voice down, not wanting to disturb others in the cabin. Jenny paused for a while. Then I heard her ask, It's past midnight, why didn't you call? I was puzzled. Why should I call her? The confusion lasted only a moment. Then it hit me. It was because of that post she shared. Funny, because she used to hate me calling during New Year's. Even Jasmine said my calls killed the New Year's vibe. I didn't call this year. Yet Jenny reached out. Since she brought it up, I responded. I didn't want to ruin your fun, so I didn't call. It was the truth. But Jenny stayed silent for longer. After falling out of love with her, I didn't want to waste time on her anymore. Anything else? If not, I'm hanging up. Yes. What? Jasmine wants to wish you Happy New Year. Jasmine? That was unexpected. Usually, she was so busy having fun. I'd only get a quick greeting when she remembered to during the holidays. This year, she was right on time. Despite her growing up, I felt no emotion. My reply was pretty standard. Thanks, wish her Happy New Year too. Jenny's connection was choppy. I barely heard her at times, thinking it was the signal I was about to hang up. But Jenny suddenly called my name. Charlie, after visiting the family, can Jasmine and I take you to the amusement park? An amusement park? I remembered it was something I mentioned long ago. Not that I cared for the amusement park itself. I wanted to bond with Jasmine. But Jenny was always busy, and Jasmine thought the amusement park was too childish. Plans were postponed endlessly, until I saw a post from Steve's account. It wasn't about being too busy or childish. They'd been to the amusement park already, and I wasn't the one they wanted to go with. No need. I had no interest without any bonds to nurture. What did you say? The train passed through a tunnel. Jenny probably didn't catch my words. I was about to repeat myself. Then I heard a deep male voice. Jenny, come on, Jasmine wants us to set off fireworks. His voice got closer. It was Steve. I knew it well, especially these past 2 years. His voice was etched in my mind. He seemed to notice Jenny's call. Are you on the phone? Is it Charlie? Did he call asking you to come home? Yeah, but it's late, you should get home soon, or Charlie will worry. But, Steve paused. I could imagine his concerned look paired with kind eyes. Jasmine also said she wanted my special scrambled eggs in the morning. Jenny must have covered the phone speaker. Steve's voice faded. I wasn't up for eavesdropping, so I just hung up. Talking wouldn't change anything. By tomorrow, Jenny would realize I was gone. Then she'd understand. I was curious, though. How would she react to my leaving? Shrug it off? Or think I should have done it sooner? Steve's interruption in Jenny's and Charlie's call annoyed Jenny a lot. He didn't realize she'd been waiting for Charlie to call all night. Because every year around this time, if she and Jasmine weren't home, Charlie would keep calling and video chatting, urging her to finish dinner with Steve and take Jasmine home. But this year, for hours after she posted, midnight had passed. Charlie didn't call or text. That wasn't like him. From the moment she posted, something felt off. And with each minute, it got more unsettling. At just past midnight, she finally found an excuse to call Charlie and wish him a happy new year. But a few words in, Steve interrupted the call. She was a bit annoyed inside but didn't show it on her face. Steve asked Jenny what was up. She brought up Jasmine wanting to have Steve's special egg custard, hinting at staying over. But Jenny actually didn't want to stay. She wanted to hurry back to Charlie. He was probably waiting for her and Jasmine at home, just like the previous years. No matter how late it got, he would always wait for them and wish a happy new year, along with a thoughtfully prepared gift. Jenny wondered what gift Charlie had in store this year. The thought brought a tinge of anticipation and warmth. She wanted to gather Jasmine and head home immediately. But Jasmine was full of energy, engrossed in playing, and reluctant to leave. I'm not going back. I want to stay with Steve. Jasmine clung onto Steve, refusing to let go. He tried to persuade her gently. Jenny, let Jasmine stay the night. It's not like there's no room. But, are you worried about Charlie getting the wrong idea? It's fine, we can explain together. Steve looked at her with soft eyes. Plus, it's not safe to drive so late. Exactly. Just talk to Dad, Jasmine chimed in. Jenny, looking at her child, relented a bit. You have to message Dad and then we'll head back after breakfast tomorrow. Okay. Jasmine agreed easily, sending Charlie a voice message. But Charlie didn't respond. Jenny began to feel uneasy, but brushed it off, assuming he fell asleep angry. Tomorrow, she would go back early and bring Charlie a New Year's gift. He was always so gentle and forgiving. Even when upset, he was easy to cheer up. The next day, before she could head home, she got a call from her family. They wanted her and Jasmine to visit for New Year's greetings. All right, I'll pick up Charlie, Jenny said. Why bring him? I'm not interested in seeing him. Her father replied on the phone, his tone steeped in displeasure. Jenny knew her dad never liked Charlie, mainly because of social status discrepancies. But at the end of the day, it was her and Charlie's life. She loved him and wasn't concerned about social standings. Dad, he's still your son-in-law, Jasmine's dad. Not asking him doesn't feel right, she argued back. Her father scoffed, he doesn't act like part of the family. If he doesn't want to come, I'm not forcing him. Truthfully, Charlie knew her father's disdain. After previous arguments about Jasmine staying at the family house, Charlie's visits had dwindled. Even for Jasmine's sake, if Charlie went, it was clear he wasn't welcomed warmly. Getting a bit of a headache, Jenny replied, I'll check with Charlie. If he didn't want to go, she wouldn't push it. When she called Charlie, he didn't answer, and with her father urging on the other end, she just left a message for Charlie. There were quite a few relatives visiting at her family home, and Jenny, being one of the main figures now, had social duties. Everyone adored Jasmine, so they ended up staying until the 4th. All this time, Charlie hadn't replied to any of her messages. By this point, Jenny's unease turned into deep worry. Not heeding her father's pleas to stay longer, she took Jasmine back to the home she shared with Charlie. Upon opening the door, they met silence and darkness. Charlie, Jenny called tentatively from the hallway. Something wasn't right. No matter how late, Charlie always left a light on for her. But now, the home was in complete darkness. Not a single light illuminated the space. "Dad?" Jasmine wandered towards the main bedroom, finding no one there. She stood bewildered at the top of the stairs. "Mom, Dad's not here. Where did he go?" A chill spread from Jenny's fingertips throughout her whole body. She scanned the home, feeling as if its owner had been gone for some time. An eerie stillness emanated from the empty rooms. I found Jenny's calls the night of the 4th, 21 missed calls back to back. Seemed urgent, like something big happened. When I called back, she picked up immediately. "Charlie, where are you?" Jenny's voice sounded weary and raspy. Was it just me? Or did she sound cautious too? I thought for a moment, "You're home?" I asked. No wonder. It seemed Jenny returned to an empty house, prompting her calls. So many calls. She must have seen the divorce papers I left behind. "I went back to my parents," I replied. Jenny asked, "When are you coming back?" I paused, puzzled. Since she clearly saw the divorce papers, why ask? Didn't she get it? "I'm not coming back," I said plainly. "Jenny, I'm not coming back. Just sign it and let's part ways on good terms." "What does on good terms mean?" "Charlie." Jenny sounded excited. "Weren't we doing fine?" Turns out, in Jenny's mind, this is what fine means. I felt a sigh rise from within and let it out. Jenny seemed to realize something. "Is it because I took Jasmine to celebrate New Year's with Steve?" "Why?" "Jenny, I never used to ask you so many whys before." I replied helplessly. Jenny seemed to take my helplessness as confirmation of her guess. "Charlie, I've told you many times, Steve and I aren't as you think." "Jenny." I cut her off. "I don't care how things are between you and Steve. I just know I want a divorce from you." There was a sudden pause on the other end, then complete silence. I told Jenny not to call me until she signs the divorce papers. Jenny's call had disturbed my sleep. I got up to get some water from the kitchen. To my surprise, I found my dad still busy there. "Dad, why are you still up so late? I made you some late-night snacks," he replied while placing a bowl of egg noodles in front of me. "Try it, you haven't had it in years. See if it still tastes the same." He was bathed in a soft, white glow. I noticed a few strands of white hair on his head. Bitterness welled up in my throat. When I was about to marry Jenny, my dad was against it. Beyond differences in family backgrounds, he didn't want me to go so far away, fearing I'd have no support if I got mistreated. In the first couple of years after marrying Jenny, I tried recreating the same dish my dad made for me, but I could never get it to taste the same. I used the steam from the bowl to hide the moisture in my eyes. "It's all right. From now on, I won't leave his side again." My dad managed to lift my spirits. I slept until 9 the next morning. Dad had already opened the store. Tourists have been visiting our town a lot since New Year. He runs a small convenience store at the street corner. The weather was great. By 10, the town was filled with sunlight and a sense of peace. I went to the store entrance and called out, "Dad." 2 figures, one big and one small, turned around simultaneously. "Daddy." Jasmine ran to me first. I was a bit startled as she hugged me. She looked up at me with those big, bright eyes of hers. "Daddy, I missed you." Jenny wore a calm and gentle expression, with a slight smile. "Charlie." Once again, I was speechless, and my brow jumped. I was surprised by Jenny and Jasmine's arrival. But soon irritation crept in. "What are you two doing here?" Jenny didn't seem to notice my cold reaction and took my hand. "Sorry, Charlie, we've had so many guests at home these days, we came late." Just then, my dad came out from the back with a fruit plate. He had clearly seen Jenny and Jasmine before me. I had no idea how Jenny managed to win him over. At that moment, my dad was all smiles. "Jenny, Jasmine, come, have a seat." "Thank you, Dad." "Thank you, Grandpa." Jasmine, usually so mature for her age, was now sweet and well-behaved. My dad was on cloud 9, wrinkles around his eyes deepening with joy. He moved over to Jasmine. "Oh, sweetie, come here. Let Grandpa hug you. Look, here's your New Year's red envelope. Happy New Year, sweetheart. Wishing you health and happiness." Jasmine grinned as she let him embrace her. He really liked Jasmine. Even though it was their first meeting, his smile was genuine and infectious. This was the happiest I'd seen my dad since I returned home. I knew why Jenny was here. After last night's call, she drove over with Jasmine. She thought I was upset and had returned to my hometown, hoping this would calm me down. But it only made me more agitated. Jenny. I tried to keep my cool, thinking I had made things clear last night. But Jenny interrupted me. Charlie, I drove for 5 hours. I'm exhausted. Her pretty brows knitted lightly, her whole demeanor one of weariness. My dad heard and quickly chimed in, telling me to get Jenny and Jasmine home to rest. I could see through Jenny's act, but looking at my dad immersed in joy, I didn't want to argue with Jenny in front of him. I led Jenny and Jasmine home. Mother and daughter followed me. Jasmine held Jenny's hand, the latter hesitating to speak. I noticed and found an excuse to have Jasmine leave after we got home, to face Jenny alone. I used to really like Jenny, even when we weren't talking. But now, seeing her only made me feel repulsed and displeased. Turns out falling for someone is easy, and disliking them is just as simple. Jenny, what do you really want? I felt a headache coming on, especially dealing with Jenny. Charlie, I'm not up to anything, just wanted to bring Jasmine to see Dad. Jenny looked at me. You always said Jasmine hadn't met her grandpa yet, didn't you? I found it laughable. I'd mentioned it many times before. Every time she ignored it, now she's proactive. I gave her a mocking look. Jenny pressed her lips. Charlie, don't look at me like that, I'm sincere. The last thing I wanted was her sincerity. Jenny and Jasmine's visit shook up my recent peace. But I have to admit, because of them, Dad seemed happier than usual. He liked Jasmine. He channeled his love for me to Jasmine, and liked her more every time he looked at her. As for Jenny, she was putting on the perfect daughter-in-law act in front of my dad. Even if my dad doesn't say it, I can feel how he's changed his attitude towards Jenny. Jenny stayed with Jasmine for 2 days. As the end of the year approached, my dad couldn't help but secretly ask one day, Charlie, when are you going back? Dad's got a ton of stuff ready for you to take when you leave. Jenny was there too. She didn't respond, just looked over at me. In a few more days, I said, I want to spend a bit more time with you. I didn't make it sound final. There was a flash of joy on Jenny's face. In the evening, I planned to have a talk with Jenny, but I ended up overhearing her and Jasmine first. Mom, when can we go home? Jasmine asked, looking unhappy and throwing her toy on the ground. That toy was a gift from my dad. He's not really good at cheering up little kids, so he just bought what he saw other girls in town had for Jasmine. Jasmine was happy at first and sweetly said thank you, Grandpa. But now, she said, this stuff isn't fun at all. I miss Grandpa and Steve. I want to go to the amusement park with him. Jenny frowned a bit, but she was patient, soothing Jasmine. Soon, she said, once your dad's not upset anymore, we can go back. Just be good these few days and don't make him mad. Got it? Jasmine unwillingly nodded. Hearing that got me somewhere between amused and angry. Since the weather was nice, my dad suggested we spend a couple of days exploring the town. Little Charlie used to love running around the town when he was a kid. He laughed while telling Jenny and Jasmine stories of my childhood. Jenny listened carefully, sometimes looking at me with a smile. Jasmine ran ahead, turning back now and then to see if Jenny and I were keeping up. After New Year's, the town calmed down, and its slate paths had an almost serene beauty. Charlie, you never told me about your childhood, Jenny said, trying to break the silence. I glanced at her. I did, I replied. You just didn't like to listen, so I stopped. But now, for some reason, Jenny promised Charlie, let's come here every year for a while. Her eyes were calm, but it seemed almost funny to me. This was just to make me less angry. Before I could respond, I heard Jasmine's excited shout. Steve! Up ahead. Steve spread his arms to greet Jasmine running toward him. Jenny frowned and glanced at me out of reflex. When she saw I had no reaction, she walked over to Jasmine. Jasmine, get down. Jasmine reluctantly moved away from Steve's arms. Jenny asked why Steve was here, and he casually responded, I'm just traveling around here. Heard you were staying, what a coincidence. Sure was. Out of all places, Steve chose this small town. Jenny looked at me again as Steve followed her gaze, his smile broadening. Charlie, didn't expect to see you here, Steve said with a spark of triumph in his eyes. I didn't get to wish you a happy new year the last time Jenny and I talked on the phone. He brought up that call from New Year's Eve. I heard you and Jenny had some misunderstanding because of me, and you came back here. If that's true, then I'm really sorry, Charlie. We're all good friends, me, Jenny, and Jasmine. I was just alone for New Year's, so they came to keep me company. Sorry to leave you alone at home. His apology sounded genuine. Before I could say anything, Jasmine took Steve's hand and said, It's okay, Steve. My dad's like that, but he's not mad anymore. Right, Dad? She looked at me, and I noticed her ease around Steve in a way I'd never achieved. Well, nowadays I don't really hope for that either. I'm not mad. After all, there aren't many people as eager as Steve to take care of someone else's wife and kid. I let out a soft chuckle. Steve picked up on my sarcasm. His smile froze but quickly returned. He turned back to Jasmine. She invited Steve to join us. My dad grew up around here. He knows the place really well. He could be like our guide. Jenny frowned but didn't have the chance to respond. Is that so? That would be a great help, Charlie, Steve said with a slight smile. Steve then joined us, keeping me on the sidelines, showing off his closeness with Jenny and Jasmine. Jenny, this place is beautiful. Snap a picture of me and Jasmine here, he said, standing by the old bridge with Jasmine. Jenny took the photo. Let's take one with the three of us, Steve suggested, scanning around and finally looking at me. Charlie, mind taking a group photo for us? Jenny gave me a look, about to say something, but I had already agreed. Sure. Steve smiled. Jenny frowned, looking at me intently. After I was done, Jenny suddenly said, Charlie, let's take a family photo. I declined, Nah, I'm not into photos. Jenny opened her mouth but said nothing, her eyes heavy with unspoken words. Later that night, Jenny knocked on my door. Charlie, what's up? She pressed her lips together. Steve coming over wasn't my idea. She rarely explained herself like that. I already knew. Jenny knew exactly where the rift between us was. No way she'd let Steve come around right now. I mean, I was the one who called him over. I said it outright. Jenny looked up at me, visibly confused. I stared back, seeing myself in her eyes, wearing a cold smile. Jenny, ever wonder how I've been all these years? While you, Jasmine, and Steve were playing happy families? Jenny went pale, probably thinking of today's events. We were supposed to be a family of three, but Steve, Jasmine, and Jenny were way too comfortable with each other, even with me there to witness it. When I'm not around, who knows how people see it? Maybe she just lets them assume, just like that New Year's post she made. I didn't, Jenny insisted, but the reality was clear, even if she tried to hide it. Little things kept slipping through the cracks. I looked at Jenny and said calmly, Don't worry, I'm not mad. If Jasmine and Steve get along so well, him being her stepdad, it's all good. Charlie. Jenny interrupted sharply. Her dark eyes blazed with a mix of wetness and fury. I never planned to divorce you. Then do you want me to keep watching you, Steve, and Jasmine play house? Jenny, you can't have it both ways. I don't, Charlie. The one I love has always been you. But I don't love you anymore. Jenny fell silent abruptly. The color drained from her face, like water slowly seeping from a cracked glass. I clearly saw the broken and wet gleam in her eyes. Might as well spell it out. Jenny, I don't love you anymore. The year I married Jenny, I thought I have to spend my whole life with her. I ignored all the gossip, choosing her firmly. But I forgot. Some paths are hard to walk alone. I married Jenny, feeling her indulgence and love, now and then. But it wasn't consistent. It felt more like charity, a bit more when she felt like it, nothing at all when she didn't. I fooled myself for way too long. What about Jasmine? Jenny asked, her eyes filled with sadness. She's our kid. Are you going to leave her, too? I stayed silent. Jasmine isn't my child. She's yours. And I think she might prefer Steve as her dad over me. Jenny wouldn't believe it. That night, she left, lost and broken. The next day, Jasmine wanted to visit the other side of town. I didn't go with them. Go ahead. As soon as I said it, Jasmine bounced excitedly towards Steve waiting at the door. Steve, Dad's not coming, but we're gonna have fun. Jenny watched Jasmine and Steve together, their interaction painfully sharp for the first time. She followed them out. I thought it would be like always, me not included, the three of them having fun. But an hour later, Jenny came back with Jasmine, who was crying uncontrollably. Steve was nowhere to be found. Mommy's mean, Jasmine sobbed, her nose red and her little face flushed. Jenny's face was stormy. It was the first time I saw them fight. It was surprising. What happened? I asked Jenny. No answer. I asked Jasmine. Instead of answering, she pushed my hand away. I don't want you. Jasmine. Jenny scolded sharply. I was confused. A few minutes later, I got the story. Jenny and Jasmine were out with Steve, having a good time until Steve offered Jenny a taste of his new onion cake, already bitten into. Jenny didn't take it well, shoving it away disgustedly. You're gross. Steve lost his balance, his face falling at her words. Jenny. Jasmine rushed to help Steve. Mom, what's wrong? Why'd you push Steve? Jenny realized Steve was overstepping boundaries and tried to hide her disgust. But she told Steve firmly to stay away from their family, saying he was a nuisance. Steve looked shocked. Jasmine protested loudly. Mom, what are you talking about? Steve doesn't bother us at all. We always have fun together. Everything they'd ever said about getting along turned into knives stabbing Jenny's heart. Her hands clenched, a dark shadow engulfing her. Oh, I see. I sighed. Seeing Jasmine crying, I softened a bit. Jasmine, don't cry. Don't pretend to care. If you hadn't come back, this wouldn't have happened. That wasn't what I expected. Jasmine was unusually distant today. Her eyes flared with blame and resentment, a look I knew all too well. But I was innocent this time. I hadn't done anything. Jenny, though, was already upset with Jasmine for being disrespectful to me. Twice now. Jasmine, what are you saying? Honestly, we were doing just fine without you. You left me at Grandpa's when I was a kid. You never really did your job as a dad. I like Steve. I don't like you. Jasmine yelled at me, feeling wronged. I was caught off guard. Didn't know how to react for a moment. Jenny was already holding on to Jasmine tightly. Who taught you to say this? Jasmine stayed silent, pouting with teary eyes. I felt a wave of numbing exhaustion. But then, a strange sense of relief hit me. If that's the case, then good. I knelt down to meet Jasmine's gaze. In that look, I held all my feelings for her. Yet in the end, I only said one thing. Actually, I don't really like you either. Jasmine froze, staring at me blankly. I smiled at her. So let's not meet again. Charlie. Jenny's voice trembled. I told her, Jenny, you can leave now. Jenny had thought taking Jasmine would be a way to keep me. But in the end, she became the final step to end our relationship. Years ago, Jenny had agreed to take Jasmine to the old home. I wonder if she ever thought this decision would become the knife between us. I hold no guilt towards Jenny or Jasmine. If anything, they betrayed me. But now I've broken free. The day Jenny took Jasmine away, the 8th, my dad didn't know about what happened with Jenny and me. He was always kind to her and Jasmine, telling them to come visit whenever possible. Jenny gave me a look, hiding the bitterness in her smile. Okay. Jasmine sat in the back seat. The car window blocked her figure and face. She was still mad, maybe waiting for me to coax her. But I didn't care anymore. I told Jenny to make sure and sign the divorce papers. This is the last thing I'm asking you to do. Don't let me down. Jenny stayed silent, her eyes quietly turning red. Charlie, I can't take you away. Can I? No. A month later, I divorced Jenny without a hitch. Half a year later, my dad learned about it. He was shocked and asked why. I didn't tell him what I'd been through. Simply said I didn't love her anymore. Though my dad sighed in regret, with time he stopped mentioning it. Why he didn't say anything was because every winter and summer break Jenny brought Jasmine to see him. Although, during those times, I was never around for some reason. I heard after Jenny and I divorced, she went back to the old home. had a huge argument with Jenny's father living there, then took Jasmine with her. I thought she'd marry Steve, but she didn't. Steve went abroad again for some reason. Jenny deleted all her posts with Steve and Jasmine celebrating New Year's, and used an old picture of us together as the background. Lots of people noticed and messaged me to tease. Their tone no different from when they used to flatter Steve and Jenny celebrating New Year. When the messages piled up, it got a bit annoying. So I pinned a divorce notice. Do not disturb, divorced. Everyone was stunned, except for a few who had some idea. As for Jasmine, at first, she didn't know Jenny and I were divorced. When she returned to Jenny's side, she asked about me. Where's Dad? Why isn't he back yet? Jenny would initially stay silent, but Jasmine kept asking. Jenny said, Dad's not coming back. Why? Jenny didn't answer. Jasmine, upset, found Jenny's phone and sent me a voice message. Dad, when are you coming back? Later on. Jasmine learned what separation and divorce meant. I heard she cried a lot wanting to see me, but in the end she never did. And finally, Jenny would occasionally bring her to the town. Those years, winter and summer breaks became Jasmine's most anticipated days, just like they once were for me.